Put the mic where your mouth is.
Yes, sir.
All right, man, let's keep it moving. Next topic.
Broadcasting from sea to shining sea, 0400 Across the Street Productions presents the 0400 Across the Street Sports Pod Report. Now, here are your hosts, Derek Little and Jay Taylor. Yes, sir. Today is September the 26th, 2017. Yes, indeed. We are back in the booth and ready to go. But first, what a weekend. Wow. Yeah, we're going to discuss it. You already know, as usual, we have a great show on tap for you. As always, big time news, big time show. Can't wait. All that and more on tap for you on this podcast.
Absolutely. Glad to be here with you. A lot of things to get to this weekend. A great weekend of football, actually, despite all the other things that happened. We had some really good football games, starting with the Thursday game, which I know we talked last week, and we weren't impressed with the matchup.
No, not at all.
I know I wasn't. And you know, you get home and you turn the TV on, and you're like, whoa, this is a modern day shootout here.
Yeah.
With the 49ers and the Rams. The Rams end up getting that. Todd Gurley went off. We'll get to all that. But first, we'll go ahead and talk about this elephant in the room. Okay?
Yeah, let's do it.
Touch on it and keep it moving and get you guys some sports action.
Or let's discuss it and stick to it.
Let's discuss it.
All right. So let's jump into it. So Friday, and I know everyone wants to say, you know, keep politics out of sports, but unfortunately, we can't do that because they kind of go hand in hand, especially in today's society. But as of Friday, I think it was Friday, you had the whole thing. Was it Friday or Saturday? You had the whole thing with 45 and Steph Curry. Right.
That was the visiting of the White House where the invitation was rescinded.
Yes. The invitation to the White House was rescinded. You had LeBron
I want you to come
issuing
no
to
way.
Twitter. Right. You had LeBron going on Twitter basically saying how can you uninvite someone when they weren't coming in.
They weren't going to come anyways. Right. And I don't, honestly, going back to that, I saw the interview with Steph. He said it would be if it was up to him, he wouldn't go.
Right.
But obviously it's a team decision. That's what he said.
It is. And they were going to discuss
they were
it.
They were supposed to get in there and vote on it and vote one way or the other. I think the vote would have ended up being not going,
because
enough of the players on the team said they weren't going to go anyways.
Right.
But that's really what he said.
And I want to
obviously 45.
And I want to give a big shout out to Jalen Rose, because of course I listened to the Jacoby and Jalen, or Jalen and Jacoby, and Jalen had said back in November that because of the results of the election, you're going to have some teams that aren't going to be making that trip. Right. And a lot of people were like, no, that's not going to be the case. The office, the weight of the office, and so on and so forth. But he was absolutely correct, because this is what we have. Your team, I think I saw an article where the Carolina Tar Heels championship team won't be going to the White House.
Yeah, Roy said he's not going to participate in that.
Roy said he's not going to participate.
The team said no. Absolutely.
You have the Warriors saying no. So we fast forward, I think it was a couple hours later, and at a rally in Alabama, 45 makes a comment about the NFL.
Look, he was losing the crowd. Okay?
No, I mean, look, he looked like he was in regular season fashion.
Well, he was getting a little silent in there, and then he flipped the football.
Yeah.
And then it happened.
He basically called the players, the ones that protest. Okay, the ones that protested were SOBs, and they should be fired if they protest. And everything just went off the rails at that point. You had teams coming out, basically issuing statements. The NFL issued a statement. The NFLPA issued a statement. You had players commenting on it, and Sunday became a watch fest.
Yeah, it really it was all about what's going to happen. I mean, you probably had more interest in the pregame shows leading up to as soon as they said we'll come right back for the national to honor
anthem.
Our country for the national anthem.
Listen,
and then they cut the commercial.
And the thing was, it was so funny because they had a graphic for this. Still to come, the national anthem. It was like, when you're at the Emmys.
Like letting you know.
Yeah, when you're at the Emmys and they're like, still to come, we have da-da-da-da-da. Still to come, we have the national anthem.
It was almost like that tease of big news. Like,
absolutely.
You're not going to believe what was found in your neighborhood right back.
Absolutely. So then you have the players, they come out, they choose to do first. Let's go to the 9:30 game. Okay. And you have the Jaguars.
This is in London.
Yeah, you have the Jaguars playing against the Ravens, and Lord. you have the players kneeling, or some of the players kneeling for the anthem, and you have Ray Lewis
for America's national anthem.
For America's national anthem,
and since we're in London,
right, they have to play "God Save the Queen," or I think it's "God Save the Queen,"
and the players stand up,
and the players stood up, right. But one of the players that was kneeling, who said he would never, ever, ever kneel.
Oh.
And in fact, he was on two knees.
He was praying.
With his glasses on. Was Ray Lewis.
Hey, Ray be in that front church pew, okay?
Yeah.
He was praying, man.
Yeah, he was praying. He was, I guess. He was doing something down there. He was deep in thought. 2 knees deep.
He might have went down on one knee, and Ray played a long career. Okay,
yeah.
He might have went down on one knee, and that one knee was probably the bad one,
and
so
he was like, cracking.
I'm gonna go on and get down on that. Yeah, so that's the only benefit of the doubt I'm gonna give him.
And that was the shot that everyone saw.
Mm-hmm.
And then you fast forward to the 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock games on the East Coast, and you have the players coming out. Some teams decided to stay in the locker room during the national anthem, which was actually a custom to the NFL before 2009, I think it was. Right. That is exactly where the players would be previous to 2009.
Normally, that's
in the locker room, right?
Yep.
And then you had some teams that said, you know what, we're going to stand on the sidelines. We're going to interlock. We're going to interlock our arms, and this is how we're going to stand in unity, showing that we stand together. All the owners and such. And then 45 then goes and tweets that is the good thing to do. Stand there, and lock your arms, but kneeling is disrespectful.
Unacceptable. And this is after TB himself,
right?
Tom Brady,
right?
Locking arms.
Let me
ask 45 said, you know what? That's cool.
That is because
that's
cool.
my dude.
Let me ask you. Okay, because you served in the military, you answered your nation's call. You proud United States Air Force guy.
Hey, that's it.
Right?
That's it.
Your wife is still in the military.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
As is my wife.
Love
still
the
in the
military,
United States Air Force. Getting ready to retire here soon.
That's it.
So having served in the military, do you take it as disrespect when they're kneeling?
You have to respect people's freedom of expression.
Absolutely.
Okay. You have to.
Yeah.
Because, all those who came before us and died, you can't say that they went over and died for someone to tell them what to do and when to do it.
Right.
That would be under an oppressive government where things like that would happen. That's not a reason that you would go over. You go over and you fought for freedom.
Right.
And freedom entails freedom of expression, look, the first line in the Constitution.
Right.
Freedom of speech.
It is. That's in the Bill of Rights.
Look,
that's the first right.
In the Bill of Rights. Exactly. Right. Look, when those guys were sitting there thinking like, look, where should we start?
Yep.
Look, I tell you this right now. We're going to start with freedom of speech.
Right.
And freedom of expression.
But it wasn't, because I'm facetiously saying this, obviously, but obviously they didn't say it. You know, if you agree with it, you get the freedom of speech.
Right.
And if you don't,
No.
and if you don't, no, you're not afforded that freedom of speech, right?
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
it is afforded to everyone, that freedom of speech that we're talking about. And it goes a little bit further because it has the right to assemble. Right.
Exactly.
And to protest, because as we know through history, that was not afforded to people before we gained our independence from England. Absolutely. That was the oppressive nature that they were living under, where if they did not like something, they could not protest it because the king or queen would have something to say about it, and you could possibly lose your head.
Hey, that's freedom.
Okay.
That's freedom.
Now,
and just to let me rewind for a second.
Right.
I want to add, and here's where the Colin Kaepernick name comes in. Okay.
Right.
And this started last year. We're talking last year under President Obama.
Under President Obama.
This is the
absolutely.
preseason last year.
Right.
All right. He sat down for the first 2 games.
Right.
Okay. And I believe a reporter came up to him and asked him, and in the preseason he wasn't playing.
Right.
So it's not like, most reporters are going to talk to the guys who are playing.
Right.
Your stars on the team. And at that time, Colin Kaepernick was kind of, the narrative was that, he was probably going to opt out of his contract. San Francisco was going in a different direction. So, he kind of wasn't the man at that point.
No, it was all about Blaine Gabbert.
It was about Blaine Gabbert. Yeah.
Right.
Just setting up the narrative for you. And a reporter asked him, "Why are you sitting?" And that's where we get one of the few sound bites we have from Colin Kaepernick,
right? To
where he goes on and expresses his reasons on why he's sitting for the flag, and he doesn't want to stand for a country that doesn't treat him as equal. A lot of the social injustices that have happened,
minorities, not necessarily
minorities,
him, but he was saying minorities, right? Or people of color, right?
People of color, right? He had thought about this for quite some time.
Absolutely. He was articulate in bringing about exactly what he wanted to say.
Right. So Eric Reed, the third game, I believe it was, him and Eric Reed kneel.
Right.
Okay. And Eric Reed has a piece in the New York Times there. I don't know if you get a chance to read it, but a pretty good piece where they kind of go back and say, all right, look, we talked to, I believe it was Nate Boyer, who was a soldier, right? Army, spent several tours downrange, was a walk-on. I think he played a couple snaps with Seattle, I believe it was.
Correct.
And they talked to him to try to throw around some ideas to say, look, how can we still respect you guys, respect the military, but still try to use this avenue to get our point across? And Nate said, I tell you what, instead of sitting, why don't you kneel?
Right.
That's kind of the conclusion they came to. So it's not like he did this out of spite. The guy actually put some serious thought into doing this, and in doing it, trying not to offend at the same time. But obviously, here we are now. Okay.
Right.
That's been thrown out the window. And we have to deal with it now.
Yeah. You're going to, look, at the end of the day, there is a now, right? There is dialogue about what is going on in America. All right. And look, Chris Rock said it best, right? He said not one white male on this earth or in America would want to switch places with him. And he's rich.
That's what he said.
If you don't think that there's an issue, and then I'll go even further. I think Bomani Jones on the Right Time with Bomani Jones had mentioned something that it is something to think about when you think about just what this whole protest is about as far as equality. And he says, when he started to make money on the radio, and he was making some real good money, that he went to buy a car. And he was making some good money. When I say good money, he was saying he was making some good money. And the thought that had to go through his mind was, do I get the flashy car? Or do I get the car that's not as flashy, which I can afford both of them, but the flashy car is going to have me pulled over on the side of a road somewhere. That is something that goes through a lot. You have a son. I have a daughter. And these are things